In question one, we're going to calculate the real GDP of this particular economy using nominal GDP and the GDP deflator. We're going to put the real GDP numbers here, and we're going to put the economic growth rates here. So what we have to do first is we have to copy this table to Excel. We'll go ahead and copy it. Right click and paste it right here. Paste it as values. And then I'm going to do a little formatting here. Center the data. Okay, now to calculate the real GDP for 2000, you take the nominal GDP and you divide it by the deflator, and then you have to multiply by 100 because 89.8 is in percent. So you have to undo the percent. And you get 11.030 billion dollars. Actually, yeah, $1 billion of GDP for this particular economy. So I'm going to click right here and type 11.030. And I'm going to hit enter, and you can see that that's the correct answer. Takes a little while sometimes. While that's doing that, I'm going to go back and calculate the next one, right? So again, you take the, I'm using the equal sign, the arrow key, divide, arrow to the GDP deflator, multiply by 100, and you get 11.217. I'll go ahead and copy it. Go back to here. See, I got the correct answer right there, right? Right click, paste, hit enter again. And so we got the first two questions right. So every time you get a question right, you get a green check mark. And because we didn't put an answer in here, we got a red X. So let's go back and finish calculating them all. Now the cool thing about Excel is if I grab the bottom corner here and drag it down, I get the rest of them. See that? So copy, paste, copy, paste, and then copy and paste. Hit enter, and now I got all 5 of them correct. Now to calculate the economic growth rate, that's just a percent change. It's just a percent change in what it is in 2004. So if I want to calculate the economic growth rate for 2004, I type equal parenthesis D7, what GDP is in 2004, minus what it was the previous year, 11.736. Close parenthesis, divide by what it was. So I got 2 D6s and 1 D7. So this is what it is, and this is what it was the previous year, and this is what it was the previous year. Then I want to convert it to a percent by multiplying by 100. And I get a negative economic growth rate. So I'm going to copy and paste that into my open math down here at the bottom. Hit enter. And I got that one right. So let's go back and just get the rest of them right. So again, economic growth rate for 2003 is what the GDP was, or sorry, what it is in 2003, minus what it was, close parenthesis, divided by what it was. And then you got to convert it to a percent by multiplying by 100. So 1.399. Copy, paste. And then the cool thing is, if I want to get the next one, I can just drag that up to the top here. And you can see what it is minus what it was, divided by what it was times 100. So 3.185. And again, I can just grab the corner here with my mouse and pull it up. What it is in 2001 minus what it was in 2000 divided by what it was in 2000 times 100. Okay, now, why do I have a dash right there? Well, if I drag this up, what happens? I get a error message in Excel. Why is that? Because I don't have the GDP in 1999. I have a word with parentheses, right? Number minus word, a word, divided by a word is nonsense in Excel. So that's why you can't calculate that. Okay? So go over here and hit enter. And I have my real GDP values. I have my economic growth rates. The reason why you want to use real GDP is because the Federal Reserve, the Fed, its purpose is to create inflation. So what that means is the purchasing power of the dollar declines through time. And so GDP is rising from 2000 to 2001 for two reasons. One, the economy is bigger. The economy is producing more goods. And two, there's inflation. This shows us there's inflation. The deflator is inflation, a measure of inflation, a measure of prices, and the changes indicate there's inflation. So nominal GDP is rising because, one, firms are producing more output, and two, prices are generally going up. Real GDP, on the other hand, it accounts for the inflation. So when you go from year to year on real GDP, you're looking at increases in output. When you go from year to year on nominal GDP, you're looking at increases in prices in general and output. Okay? So now we got to calculate the average economic growth rate for Cozia. So to calculate the average economic growth rate, average economic growth rate for Cozia, we're going to type equal average in the economic growth rate column, a parenthesis, and then we'll just highlight these four values there. And then close parenthesis and hit enter. The average economic growth rate is 1.027. And we have a percent symbol here, so you don't want to write it like this. Right there like that, right? Same thing up here. These are all in percent, which is why that says percent there. Okay, now we got to get the annual growth rate of nominal GDP for 2004. So nominal GDP for 2004. That is this value minus that value divided by that value. That'll get us the nominal GDP growth rate. So we'll go over here. Remember, it's what it is in 2004 minus what it was divided by what it was, and then we got to convert it to a percent, so we got to multiply by 100. Right? So GDP fell by negative 2% in 2004, but nominal GDP increased by 0.6%. Hit enter to see if we got it right. We got everything right. So let's answer the rest of the question. Compare this to the 2004 economic growth rate. So we're going to compare this to that. Why is this positive and this is negative? Well, we have inflation here, right? We have inflation. So GDP is going up, right, because of inflation, but it's going down because there's less output. Maybe we're in a recession. Let's calculate the inflation rate. We'll calculate the inflation rate using the deflator. And the inflation rate is calculated just like the economic growth rate is. What the price level was in 2004 minus, what the price level is in 2004 minus the price level, what it was in 2003, divided by what the price level was in 2003 times 100%. So this is nominal GDP growth, and this is inflation, right? If I add these two values, see that? If I add these two values, I get 0.68, which is pretty close to nominal GDP growth. So when you add the economic growth rate to the inflation rate, you get the nominal GDP growth rate. Why? Because, again, nominal GDP increases. If nominal GDP increases, it's probably because there's inflation, higher prices, and more output. Okay? So let's go back to our question here. The difference results from the nominal economic growth rate roughly equaling the sum of real economic growth and inflation. Hit enter. And we got 100%.